I'm here today to talk to you about the benefits of creating. So, I'm an artist and I'm also a healer. And for the better part of the last 15 years, I learned how to be happy. And creating art and creating in general, whether it is cooking or building relationships or traveling, is also a form of creation because you create memories. All different kinds of activities in life I approached with the sense of creating them with intentionality. And that really was or is the most important ingredient for me to be happy. There's many life-giving functions of creating and creating art. But the first and foremost is fun, because we really need to play. Humans need to play. And that is something that is often underrepresented in schools, in universities, definitely in many people's work lives. We kind of have drained ourselves of fun, So I think it's really good, whether you're an artist or you're just a person that is creative or somebody who would like to be more creative. I think it's really important to create these pockets of time that are just for you and that you fill just with having fun without direction or creating with the purpose of an outcome. And that might sound trivial to you, but when is the last time you or your friends or anybody you know, unless they've already made a part of their life and their identity, really carved out the time to play and also to fail? Because we have been taught that creating things means that the results matters more than the path of getting there. And there's some innate wisdom in, in creating and experimenting and failing again, and it turns out that it wasn't a mistake in the first place. And of course, Bob Ross comes to mind. Happy Little Mistakes. I love that man. It's not even about technique or about being a master of a craft. It's just about spending time with you, having fun, and kind of being silly and just creating and having a good time. So I think that's if we can foster that in our lives, no matter how old we are, happiness is available to everybody. Yeah. So, and even if we live in serious circumstances, then especially, of course, if we can afford it, any kind of creation, if it's creating a board game on the floor with stones, that is what nourishes our souls. And that's why fun and play is so important. So that's my number one. The second part is that while we create and we forget the sense of time, and I'm sure you have your own way of creating, something that you forget your sense of time with is a pretty good indicator that you are creating. We forget who we are, in the sense of we are not aware, not present to our stories in that very moment. We just are. We do things, but we lose the sense of doing in also losing the sense of time. And that is where our minds can go to rest. I don't know about you, but I'm a recovering overthinker. I have well recovered, and I have all of these techniques, other also than creating, that have helped me profoundly. But still, creating things is my favorite way of getting out of my head and getting into the moment. So we can access a deep sense of being through creating the things that we are uniquely equipped to do. Even a bad drawing, and I'm using that with, I I don't use it in a sense of describing something. I use it in a kind of a humorous way. Even a bad drawing is a reflection of the person creating it. That is especially in the times of social media where there is a lot of attention on the best or the youngest who does something, or the most famous person who does something. It's like an act of resistance against this attention-seeking perfectionism. If we allow ourselves these pockets of being also, just to exist. And yes, again, there are other ways of doing that. You can meditate or write, although writing is also creating. And even just intentionally thinking can be a way of creating objects and having a relationship with the objects we're creating, whether it is food that reflects your personal preferences or a painting that you really want to fill that spot or reflect that memory of an important time in your life. These are the things that really connect us to our own experience or are capable of condensing it, like a poem, for example. Let's say you have a favorite lake or a favorite spot by the ocean, a body of water that inspires you, okay? The relationship you have, your own experience you have with that body of water. You were there. You know the vegetation around it. You know how the light changes with time from morning to evening. You have spent time there. And that is an image in your mind, and then you create an image of the image that is unique to you. Is there anything more reflective of the human experience than that? I don't think so. So if you haven't made creating a habit yet, I hope this inspires you to do so. Enough. This is my point 3. Enjoying the sense of time passing by surrendering to the process. So something that can happen a lot in a very goal-oriented society is that we forget to enjoy the time of getting there. And one of my favorite creators of all time, Neil Gaiman, gave an amazing commencement speech where he said that he would go back and give his younger self the advice of enjoying the time while getting there. Trying to create something with the purpose of having created just the result. It takes away something from the moment, in the sense that we try to delay satisfaction until we've done it. But in a sense, it is a self-punishing attitude. Because we can't be happy until we've done it, until we've finished a product, or until we create something we can sell, or something that's representative of our level of skill. And that is a trap. That is a thinking trap. A big old thinking trap that will lead to creating and creating and creating and never allowing the satisfaction. Some of my best work, I can say in retrospect, I did not enjoy while I could see it, which is unfortunate because anxiety crept in, because self-doubt crept in, because I thought I could have done better or could have created it in a way that would make it last longer, things like that. You know, when you are, I am a grand scale painter, amongst other things, and these paintings are very hard to preserve and store and all of that. So sometimes I create works that are only there for a certain time, and then they fall apart. So then I started doing these kind of works that I believe have great power also with this philosophy behind it. But I also started doubting myself in the sense of, why am I creating something that falls apart in the first place? Only to realize a few months or years later that is very reflective of the human experience. That can also be the thing that makes it special. So sometimes hindsight is 20/20, and it's important to enjoy the process while you're in it, because at a later time, something that you've done before might speak to you differently. And on that note, we can talk about creating things that reflect you back at you. As I said, everybody works differently or creates differently and thinks differently. So even just three people drawing the same horse will lead to very different results. It's one of my favorite examples because it's also a very common drawing exercise to draw animals or people or objects, inanimate objects. But they never do look the same, do they? So what you can do in a sense is you can document your own experience through time when you create something. In each stage of your development, a state of consciousness and skill reflects back at you. And you are the only one who can really see them as the creator of these works, as a reflection of you at that time. Even another person will look at the same thing and not have your experience. And that is something that is really, really underrated. And actually one of the reasons why some creators destroy their earlier works or make them unavailable to the public, because they don't like to see the evolution in them. But something that I've learned is that even if it's not interesting to me in that time, because I have already transcended a subject or evolved beyond that thing that interests me at the time, it is still a reflection of my evolution as a human being. And that can be something that speaks to me or even speaks to other people. And there's an inherent value in that. It's like a very private, like a coded time capsule, if you will. So don't throw away your old works, is what I'm saying. Or at least document it in a way that you will still be able to access the feelings and thoughts you had at the time. And lastly, and this is a really important point, which is why I put it at the end, create something that makes you happy, you, or that is interesting to you. Creating for other people is something that, yes, we can do in the time that is not dedicated to ourselves. But this time of creating really should be dedicated to ourselves because we give all the time, right? Most of us have a job to make money, or we have spouses that we give to, we have maybe children that we give to, or parents that we take care of, or even like any other kind of obligation. So this is the unique time, and this is my permission for you if you haven't given it to yourself yet, or if it's some time that, you've done this. Take the time to create something that makes you happy. You and only you. Let's call it positive selfishness. We want to be full of ourselves because we are very much like, oh, I have just the right prop for this. We are very much like coffee cups. And usually coffee cups come with saucers. So we want to think of ourselves as a cup that is full. And that is so full that we get to share with other people from the saucer. And if you live a creative life, you can live with a full cup and a full saucer. And living from an empty cup is not exactly a recipe for happiness. So keep your cup full and love other people from the saucer. And one way to keep your cup full is to create things that make you happy. On that note, a little bit of espresso. So these have been my points to talk about what creating does for me. It really gives you a clear sense of your inner experience. And that is the summary that I would say to all of these points. You foster a clarity in existence. So keep creating and see you soon.